Welcome to Whispers of Wisdom, where powerful stories come alive. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more wisdom-filled tales.
Chapter 1: The Whisper in the Dark. The night air felt heavy, like it was carrying a secret it didn't want to share. I had been dozing on the couch, the soft glow of the lamp casting shadows that stretched across the living room walls like clawed fingers. The hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen was the only sound besides my own steady breathing. I remember thinking how peaceful the house felt that night, a rarity since Sophie was born. My 6-year-old daughter had a habit of creeping out of bed in the middle of the night, asking for water or a story. But tonight, she was sound asleep upstairs, and I'd finally gotten a moment of quiet. That's when my phone buzzed. I groggily picked it up, expecting a late-night text or spam notification. But it wasn't a text. It was Lila, my sister. "Get in the car." Her voice was low and urgent, almost a whisper. At first, I thought she was joking. Lila had always been the dramatic one, turning everyday events into catastrophes. I chuckled. "What? It's almost midnight. What are you talking about?" I said, "Get in the car. Now. Don't grab anything. Don't ask questions. Just trust me." Something in her voice made the humor evaporate from my chest. It was trembling, not panicked, but sharp and controlled, like she was balancing on the edge of fear and determination. "Lila, what the hell is going on?" I asked, sitting up straighter. The couch creaked beneath me, the sound unnaturally loud in the silence. "I don't have time to explain," she whispered. "Please, Ethan. I'm outside your house. Wake Sophie. Get her, get in the car, and leave everything. Just trust me." I glanced toward the window. The street outside was empty, bathed in the orange haze of the street lamps. My heart thudded harder than it should have. Something wasn't right. "Why?" "Lila, you're scaring me." "Good. Be scared. Move now." Before I could press further, the call ended. For a long second, I just sat there on the couch, staring at my phone. It was Lila. My sister, who had never been serious about anything in her life, the woman who once convinced me to jump into a frozen lake because she thought it'd build character. She wasn't the type to whisper in the dark, wasn't the type to tell me to run. I looked up at the ceiling. Sophie's room was just above me. I could almost hear her slow breathing through the floorboards. I grabbed my hoodie from the armrest and padded quietly up the stairs. Every creak of the wooden steps felt like a gunshot in the stillness of the night. Sophie was curled up in bed, her small hand clutching her favorite stuffed rabbit, Mr. Buttons. Her long lashes fluttered as she stirred slightly, sensing my presence. I knelt beside her and brushed a strand of hair from her face. "Hey, kiddo," I whispered. "We're going on a little adventure, okay?" She blinked, confused. "It's sleepy time," she mumbled. "I know, sweetheart. We're just going for a ride. You can sleep in the car." She rubbed her eyes, too tired to argue. I scooped her up, blanket and all, and carried her downstairs, my mind racing with possibilities. Was there a gas leak? A fire? Had Lila seen someone outside? The front door creaked as I opened it. A black SUV idled at the curb, headlights off. Lila sat in the driver's seat, her dark hair pulled back into a messy bun, her face pale in the dim glow of the dashboard. She gestured frantically for me to hurry. I locked the front door behind me, my eyes scanning the shadows. Nothing. No movement. Just the quiet hum of the streetlights. "Seatbelt," Lila whispered sharply as soon as I got in. "Lila, what is going on?" I asked, strapping Sophie into her booster seat. "Later. Just keep your eyes forward." She pulled away from the curb with a smoothness that betrayed the tension in her knuckles gripping the steering wheel. Sophie was already drifting back to sleep, the soft hum of the engine lulling her into dreams. I reached over and placed a hand on Lila's arm. "Talk to me," I said. Her jaw tightened. "Not yet. Just drive. Don't look back." I twisted in my seat instinctively, and she grabbed my wrist. Her grip was stronger than I remembered. I said, "Don't look back." I froze. The seriousness in her voice sent a chill crawling up my spine. The road ahead was empty, but every shadow seemed alive. I felt like we were being hunted, though I couldn't see anything. Lila drove faster than usual, her eyes darting to the rearview mirror every few seconds. "Lila, you're scaring me," I said again, this time softer. "Good," she murmured. "Fear keeps us alive." We drove in silence for what felt like hours but was probably only 10 minutes. My phone buzzed in my pocket, startling me. I pulled it out and saw an unknown number flashing on the screen. "Don't answer," Lila said immediately. I hesitated. "Ethan. Don't." I silenced the call and shoved the phone back into my pocket. My pulse was pounding in my ears. Finally, she spoke. "Look at the window." I frowned. "What window?" "Our house." "Look back." I turned my head just as we rounded a corner, and my heart stopped. In Sophie's bedroom window, her pale pink curtains drawn wide open, a figure stood perfectly still. It wasn't Sophie. The shape was tall, broad-shouldered, and unmoving, a shadow against the soft glow of her nightlight. Even from this distance, I could feel its gaze following us. My breath caught in my throat. "Who?" "I don't know," Lila whispered, her voice trembling for the first time. But they were already there when I pulled up. My hands tightened into fists. "We should call the cops." "I did," she said grimly. "They said they'd send someone." "But Ethan." "I watched them for 5 minutes before I called you. They didn't move. Not once." The image of the figure burned into my brain, and for the first time, I noticed something even more chilling. "They were in her room," I said hoarsely. "Not outside. In her room." Lila nodded, her knuckles white on the wheel. "That's why I told you not to grab anything. We had to get out." Sophie stirred in her sleep, murmuring something about Mr. Buttons. I glanced back at her, my heart aching. Someone, something, had been standing over her while I was downstairs on the couch. "How did you see them?" I asked. "I was on my way home from work," Lila said, voice clipped. "I thought I'd swing by, drop off the leftovers I'd packed for you. When I parked, I saw movement in her window." "And you didn't go in?" She shot me a look. "Would you?" I didn't respond. We drove aimlessly for another 20 minutes, neither of us sure where to go. The police were on their way, but every instinct in my body screamed that we couldn't go back, not yet. Finally, we pulled into the empty parking lot of a 24-hour diner. Lila parked at the far end, where the dim glow of a single streetlight barely reached us. "Stay here," she whispered, glancing at Sophie. "Where are you going?" I asked. "To get us some coffee," she said. "You look like you're about to pass out." I wanted to argue, but she was already out of the car, locking it behind her. I turned in my seat to look at Sophie. She was still asleep, her small chest rising and falling rhythmically. I rubbed my face with both hands, trying to steady myself. My mind kept replaying the image of that figure in the window. Why hadn't they moved? Why just stand there? My phone buzzed again. Same unknown number. This time, a text popped up. "You forgot something." My blood turned to ice. I looked up at the diner, trying to spot Lila through the windows. She was at the counter, ordering something from the tired-looking waitress. Another text came through. "We're not done. Chapter 2, The Message in the Shadows. I sat frozen in the front seat of the car, staring at the glowing screen of my phone as if it had just spoken out loud. You forgot something. My mind raced through every possibility, each one more horrifying than the last. A toy? A wallet? No, they couldn't be talking about something so small, so mundane. The words dripped with menace, taunting me. I glanced at Sophie in the back seat. She was still asleep, clutching Mr. Buttons, her little lips parted as she breathed softly. For a moment, the sight of her calmed me, until my phone buzzed again. We're not done. This time, I nearly dropped the phone. My breathing grew shallow. Whoever this was, they knew us. They were inside our home. And now, they had my number. My hands trembled as I locked the phone screen and slid it face down on my lap. The dark parking lot outside suddenly felt like a stage, with invisible eyes trained on me. My gaze flickered to the diner's glowing windows where Lila stood at the counter. She was scanning the menu, oblivious to the storm unraveling in my head. I unlocked the phone again, fingers hesitating over the screen. Should I call her back inside the car? No. I didn't want to scare Sophie. My daughter needed calm, and right now, I was all she had. I forced myself to take a deep breath. Okay, think, I muttered under my breath. My voice sounded foreign to me, too shaky. I checked the locks again, making sure the doors were secured. The lot was mostly empty except for a rusty sedan parked 2 rows over, its windows tinted. The faint glow of a cigarette tip flared inside. My stomach twisted. Was I imagining it? The phone buzzed again. Another message. Turn around. I whipped my head toward Sophie instinctively. She was fine. Still asleep. Still safe. But then I realized what they meant. I slowly turned to look out the rear windshield. There, at the edge of the lot, stood a figure. Even in the dim light, I could tell it was the same silhouette from Sophie's window. Tall. Still. Watching. My breath caught in my throat. They were far enough away that I couldn't see their face, but close enough that I knew this wasn't coincidence. I grabbed my phone and dialed Lila. She picked up immediately. What's wrong? She asked. Get back in the car. Now. My voice was a harsh whisper, shaking with urgency. What? Now. I saw her head snap toward the car through the diner window. She muttered something to the waitress and bolted toward the door. The figure didn't move. Just stood there, a statue carved from darkness. The diner bell jingled as Lila sprinted out, 2 cups of coffee in hand. She yanked open the driver's side door and threw herself inside, slamming it shut and locking it in one motion. What? I pointed toward the figure. Look. She froze, her eyes following my gesture. Shit, she whispered. What do we do? I asked, my voice breaking slightly. She put the coffee down, started the engine, and... Chapter 3, The Knock at the Door. The 3 slow, deliberate knocks echoed through the house again, rattling the quiet like a death knell. Sophie stirred slightly on the couch, hugging Mr. Buttons closer, but she didn't wake. Lila and I stood frozen in the kitchen, exchanging a terrified glance. Detective Marlowe, a voice called out from outside. It's Officer Daniels. We were sent to check on you. My pulse thumped so loud in my ears I barely heard the words. Something felt wrong. Too calm. Too rehearsed. Marlowe reappeared from the hallway, her sidearm now holstered at her hip, her face calm but alert. She gave us a sharp look, signaling us to stay put. Slowly, she moved toward the front door, her steps deliberate and quiet. The knocks came again, louder this time. Detective? Everything okay in there? I felt a chill run through me. It wasn't the knocks or the voice. It was the timing. No police could have gotten here that fast. We'd only been at Marlowe's house for a couple of hours. Then my phone buzzed again. "Don't open the door." I felt my stomach drop. My throat tightened as I showed the text to Lila. Her eyes went wide, and she shook her head violently. Marlowe froze mid-step when she saw our faces. I mouthed the words, "Don't." She gave a small nod, then slipped silently into the shadows near the window. I crawled low, heart hammering, until I was close enough to peek through the blinds without being seen. Outside, a man in a police uniform stood on the porch. His face was calm, almost friendly, but something about him was off. His posture was too relaxed, his eyes scanning the yard like he was waiting for something. And then I saw it. His badge. It was upside down. I sucked in a breath and ducked down. "That's not a cop," I whispered hoarsely. Marlowe had already drawn her gun, crouching low with her back to the wall. She made a quick hand gesture for us to stay silent. The man outside knocked again, his voice calm but insistent. "Detective Marlowe, open the door. We need to talk to your guests." Lila's hand trembled against mine. Sophie stirred again, letting out a soft sigh. I wanted to scoop her up, hold her, but I didn't dare move. The front porch creaked. He was shifting his weight. Waiting. Then another sound cut through the tension, the crunch of footsteps on gravel. I risked another glance. A second figure had appeared at the end of the driveway, also dressed like an officer. They stood perfectly still, facing the house, their head tilted ever so slightly. "Two of them," I whispered. Marlowe's jaw tightened. She moved silently toward the hallway, motioning for us to follow. We crept after her, our breaths shallow, the old wooden floorboards groaning softly underfoot. She led us toward the back of the house, to a small utility room with a door leading to the backyard. "Go out first," she whispered. "Stick to the shadows. Head for the woods behind the house. I'll cover you." "No," Lila hissed. "We're not." Chapter 4, Into the Wolves' Den. The text on my screen blurred for a moment as I stared at it, my hands trembling. That was a mistake. I felt the words settle into my chest like a weight. Lila leaned over my shoulder to read the message, her face tightening. "They're hunting us," she whispered. I clutched Sophie tighter, her sobs muffled against my shirt. She was trembling, exhausted and terrified. "Shoo, baby, I've got you," I whispered softly. Lila crouched low beside me, scanning the trees with sharp, frantic eyes. "We can't keep running like this, Ethan. We need a plan." "What plan?" I snapped, the fear in my voice bleeding into anger. They've been ahead of us every step of the way. They knew we'd go to Marlowe's. They knew where we were hiding. They even know our names. Lila's jaw tightened. Then we stop running. We fight back. I blinked at her, incredulous. Fight back? With what? We're outnumbered, unarmed, and... I trailed off, looking down at Sophie, who had finally quieted but still clung to Mr. Buttons like a lifeline. "Then we get armed," Lila said, her voice cold and resolute. I shook my head. "This isn't a movie, Lila. These people aren't just burglars. They're organized," she finished. "Calculated. Which means they have weaknesses. We just have to find them first." A rustling in the distance cut through our argument like a blade. Both of us froze. Lila crouched lower, pulling me and Sophie closer to the ground. The sound was faint but deliberate, footsteps crunching over fallen leaves. Slow. Measured. I scanned the tree line, heart hammering. The woods had grown eerily quiet. Even the birds seemed to be holding their breath. "Move," Lila mouthed, gesturing toward the stream. We crept along the water's edge, our movements slow and deliberate. The moonlight reflected off the rippling surface, casting fractured shadows that danced around us. Sophie's breathing was steady now, her head resting heavily on my shoulder. I kissed her hair softly, whispering, "Almost there, baby. Almost safe." We followed the stream for what felt like an eternity until Lila spotted a narrow wooden footbridge ahead. It looked ancient, its boards weathered and cracked. "Over there," she whispered. We hurried across, the wood groaning under our weight. On the other side, the forest grew denser, offering more cover. Once we were far enough in, Lila stopped and crouched behind a thick tree trunk. "We need to decide where we're going," she whispered. "Back to Marlowe's," I said instinctively. She shook her head sharply. "We don't even know if she's alive, Ethan. And even if she is, they're watching her place. That's how they work. They push you into familiar places, places you think are safe. That's how they trap you." I swallowed hard. "Then where?" Lila hesitated, then looked at me with a glint of hesitation in her eyes. "I know a place. Off the grid. No cell service. No records. I haven't been there in years, but if anyone can help." Chapter 5, The Ghost in the System. Elias Rourke stood motionless behind the rusted gate, his rifle steady in his hands. His piercing gray eyes flicked from Lila to me, then to Sophie, who whimpered softly, clutching Mr. Buttons to her chest. "Inside," he said finally, stepping back. The gate creaked wider, revealing a narrow dirt path that snaked through dense forest. Lila gave me a quick nod, and we hurried down the path, Sophie trembling in my arms. My heart pounded with every step. The cabin, or rather, bunker, at the end of the path looked like it had been swallowed by the earth itself. Half buried under a thick layer of moss and dirt, it was almost invisible from a distance. Elias ushered us inside quickly, bolting the door behind us with a heavy steel latch. The air inside smelled faintly of gun oil and old books. Every surface was covered with technology, rows of computer monitors, towers of blinking servers, wires snaking across the floor like vines. Weapons lined the walls, meticulously organized. Elias set his rifle aside but didn't relax. "Talk," he said, his gravelly voice filling the room. Lila took a deep breath. "We're being hunted. By the syndicate." Elias's jaw tightened. "You told me you burned that bridge years ago." "I thought I did," she said grimly. "But they're back. And they're after Sophie." He turned his gaze on me, his eyes cold and assessing. "Why the girl?" "I don't know," I said honestly, clutching Sophie closer. "We were just living our lives. I'm a history teacher, for God's sake. I don't know anything about this syndicate." Elias didn't answer right away. He studied Sophie for a moment, his expression unreadable. "She's the key," he muttered finally. "The key to what?" I demanded. He didn't respond. Instead, he turned to Lila. "Why bring them here? You know what this means." "They're tracking us," she said. "I need your help to scrub us from their system. You're the only one who can do it." Elias let out a dry laugh. "You think I can just erase you from the syndicate's grid? They own everything, government databases, satellites, bank records. Hell, they probably know what brand of toothpaste you use." "Then we take them down," Lila said, her voice sharp and determined. "Once and for all." Elias studied her for a long moment. Then he smirked faintly. "You haven't changed." He led us into a hidden room at the back of the bunker, walls lined with monitors displaying endless streams of data. Sophie clung to me, exhausted, while Elias sat at his massive desk and began typing furiously. "What are you doing?" I asked. "Looking for them," he muttered. "If they're tracking you, they've left a footprint. Everyone does. I sat in silence, trying to calm Sophie, who stirred restlessly in my lap. She was too young for this nightmare, too young to understand why we were running, why strangers wanted to hurt her. Lila stood behind Elias, her arms crossed. You know they'll come for us here, right? Chapter 6, The Elysium Protocol. The bunker reeked of gunpowder and burnt circuitry. Smoke still curled from shattered equipment, and my ears rang from the grenade blast. I clutched my ribs, trying to push through the pain. None of it mattered. Sophie was gone. Elias was hunched over his laptop, typing furiously, illuminated by the cold glow of multiple monitors he'd somehow powered back on. Lila, pale but steady despite the blood on her face, limped toward him. Talk to me, she demanded. Where are they taking her? Elias didn't answer immediately. His eyes flicked over cascading streams of code, security feeds, and satellite images. There, he muttered finally, pointing at one of the screens. I leaned in, my vision swimming. The screen showed a massive industrial complex nestled deep in a forested valley, razor wire fences, guard towers, and helipads. The black site, Lila whispered, her voice tight with dread. What's that? I asked. A syndicate stronghold, Elias said. No one walks out of there alive. My heart felt like it was splitting in two. Then we don't walk out. We fight our way out. Lila met my gaze. Her jaw tightened, but she nodded. Elias leaned back, studying us both. This isn't a rescue mission. This is suicide. Then suit up, I said coldly. Because I'm not leaving her there. We left the bunker in Elias's armored SUV, tearing down dirt roads under the cover of night. He had transformed into something else entirely, an apex predator, calm and calculating. Lila rode shotgun, checking her rifle with meticulous precision. I sat in the back, heart pounding, clutching Sophie's stuffed rabbit like a lifeline. Elias spoke without looking at me. You understand what Elysium is now, don't you? Not really, I admitted. I just know they want her because of it. He glanced in the rearview mirror. It's more than that. Elysium isn't just encryption. It's a failsafe. The Syndicate built it to control every digital system on Earth. Satellites, banking, power grids, weapon systems, all of it. Whoever controls Elysium controls the world. And Sophie. She's the key, Elias said grimly. Her DNA completes the algorithm. Without her, the system can't activate. Lila turned to me. Your wife tried to destroy Elysium. That's why they killed her. I swallowed hard, gripping the rabbit tighter. They won't hurt Sophie, Elias said. Not yet. She's too valuable. But once they activate Elysium, she becomes expendable. A wave of rage and fear surged through me. Then we don't let it happen. Elias nodded once. Good answer. We parked a mile out from the black site, cloaked by darkness. The compound loomed in the distance, bathed in harsh white floodlights, a fortress in the middle of nowhere. Elias handed me a headset and a suppressed rifle. Stay behind me. If I say move, you move. If I say shoot, you shoot. I nodded, trying to steady my trembling hands. Lila checked her gear and gave me a tight smell.